going live shortly. I want to thank all of you for being here. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but we should be on right now. And this is Coach Carla Joy welcoming you to Doctor's Orders. We're here every Friday night at this time. So I'm really excited to have you join us here today. Now, we're part of a community um, associated with the Juice Plus company. We'll tell you a little bit more about it, but the company has been around since 1970, where we have been involved in improving the health and well-being of people. Our company actually introduced smoke detectors in the 1970s, and then they went on to introduce water filtration and air filtration products. And then in 1993, the Juice Plus product was introduced. It is concentrated fruits and vegetables in capsules. And as I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So I'm delighted to be here with some of my friends. Thank you guys for being here with me. And um, we're going to be talking about how nutrition can make a difference in your health in just a matter of days. In other words, you turn your health around. And I want to do this session in honor of the memory of one of my dear friends, Miss Marcina Barber, née Harris, loyal friend, faithful servant of Christ, a wonderful musician, a teacher, and wife of Derek Barber. We love you, Miss Marcina. So tonight we're going to talk about how nutrition can turn your health around. Um, Before we do that, I want to let you know why I'm here doing this, why we're all here every Friday night. You know, a friend of mine said, "You sound a little bit like a crusader." And I'm not sure it was meant as a compliment, but I took it as a compliment because I'm really passionate about making a difference in the lives of people. And if you know better, you can do better. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my story, and just keep in mind that the information that we'll be sharing here is not a replacement for a consultation with your medical professionals. Please don't make changes to your medication or to your treatment plan without having a talk with your physician, with your medical professional about what's on your mind and why you want to make these changes. You can even share this video with them. Now, I don't know the last time you were in pain, but pain can be debilitating. And I had another experience with pain at the end of May. Now, you know, when you have to remind yourself to breathe, so much pain, you have to remind yourself, breathe, breathe in, breathe out. It was so intense. And many of you can relate to that level of pain. Well, I had difficulty sitting, standing, or even lying down. And this went on for a couple of days. Eventually, I started reaching out for help. And I reached out to my goddaughter, who is my favorite goddaughter, my favorite physical therapist. She's a doctor of physical therapy. She didn't see me, but she gave me some good advice. Number one, she reminded me that many of these pain events, like the one I had, was self-limiting. In other words, over time, it would resolve. And if it didn't resolve, of course, I would have to go to seek more medical advice. But over a couple of days, I started reaching out to people. People started encouraging me, hot water bottle. One neighbor lent me a heating pad. Somebody else lent me a back massager. I did certain things that actually helped reduce the pain, but my body was also healing. So part of what I was doing was also eating food that was not pro inflammatory. I was eating food that was anti inflammatory. So I had access to concentrated fruits and vegetables, and I was eating that, and I was eating my superfoods. We'll talk about all of these things a little later on. And I was staying hydrated. And what I realized was that I was actually losing weight. And that's why I'm telling you this story. It's because within about 10, within about a week, I lost 10 pounds. Now, you could say some of that was water weight and so on, but I wasn't eating as much as I usually eat. I was only eating things that were real quality, low in, had low inflammation impact, and had was high in nutrients, but I didn't have much of an appetite. So it was easy. And I lost 10 pounds. And the significance for me was that I'm going to tell you about some doctors who've done a lot of research. And I'm not talking about reading other people's material, I'm talking about actual scientific research. And their claim is that within a matter of days, you can make a difference in your health. And one of the markers of health is weight change. Now, I'm happy to say that over the past couple of weeks, my health has continued to improve. And I've been challenged to look at what I teach here every Friday night, which is the 6 pillars of health. And those of you who know it, you can just type in the chat, what are the 6 pillars of health? You can just type one pillar at a time, just so that everyone can have an opportunity to type them in. So these 6 pillars of health, I had to focus on them because I was really challenged. I didn't want the pain to come back. So I see one person and said, okay, we've got one of the pillars. Come on, guys, you know them. So, and I know it takes a little time to type them in, but okay, we've got two. All right, so we have 6 pillars of health. All right, thank you so much for typing those in. So I just say them off quickly so that those of you listening by recording, you can get them all down. Water, walking, sleep, rest, detoxing your environment, and whole food plant strong eating. Those are the 6 pillars of health. And I call them the Coach Carla Joy 6 pillars of health, but I'm supported by and reinforced by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine because they have similar components on their 6 pillars of health. Now, I would like to just spend a little time just going over each one in a little more detail because it's so easy to say just one thing will make a difference in our lives. And you can just make one simple change, but we are complex. Our bodies are complex. And so the fact that there are 6 different things that we could do means that you could get started on one, but you want to work on all of them over a period of time. So the first of them, water. Staying hydrated is important from the cells to your skin or to your joints. Every part of your body is impacted by hydration. And speaking of water, I'm going to have some now. So whether you're measuring your water so that you have eight ounce glasses of water in an 18 to 20 hour period, or whether you are um, setting aside half the body weight in ounces and planning to drink that. Either way, you need to be hydrated. And your body doesn't function well if you're not sufficiently hydrated. Your brain does not function as well. When people talk about brain fog, one of the quickest things to revive yourself would be to hydrate. And many people are thought of as not functioning properly, especially the elderly, if the first thing you do is hydrate them some more, and their mentation improves. While I was a teacher in high school, I made sure that my kids drank water before they came into the lab so that they would be at their best. Walking. We need to move. We were designed to move. A friend of mine who is a nurse said that one of the things as we age that we give up is our mobility. Somewhere somebody planted an idea is that we should, once we age past 50, we should slow down, do less, sit up, sit down. And one of the things we give up is things like a rocking chair. Did you know that as you use a rocking chair, you are using your leg muscles almost constantly, and that improves venous return to your heart and keeps your legs and muscles and heart strong. So keep moving, even if it's 5 to 15 minutes a day. And my friend Eileen Kapsaskis reminds us that we, especially as we age past 50, we need to work on upper and lower body strength. If you want to know more about that, please contact the person who invited you and we can do a three-way call or give you the access to Eileen's website, Have Lifelong Well-Being. She says we need to focus on mobility, on stability, and strength. So move purposefully, whether it's walking, swimming, whether it is moving around um, your living room, your living space, be as mobile as you possibly can and maybe push yourself a little bit. Rest. Now, sleep, sorry, that many people have survived on 5 hours of sleep or less. Maybe you were in a career, maybe you're a medical professional where you survived on less than 5 hours of sleep. And we all know that that's a stress inducing habit. So we need, according to the researchers, to move our sleep times to longer and longer. There may be lots of things that we can do, making sure that we develop a routine, making sure that our sleeping space is dark and has no artificial lights. So electronic lights and electronics may need to be removed from the bedroom, and that we have an assigned place where we just sleep and you do other activities in other locations. There's several things that you can do. And then rest. Many people think, well, if I'm sleeping, that's enough rest. But rest also includes, according to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and Dan Buettner in his book, Blue Zones, he found that having community activities, being part of a community of like-minded people, especially people who are a little ahead of you as you pursue your goals, is very important and part of a healthy lifestyle. And detoxing your environment. Now, that includes not taking things like smoking, alcohol, addictive drugs. So I share a lot on reducing the toxic chemicals that we have in our home that we use for cleaning. We use these chemicals for cleaning, but we're inhaling these chemicals and they're having a toxic effect on our bodies. So whether it is cleaning products or it is toxic chemicals like excess alcohol, smoking of any kind, and addictive drugs, we want to consider removing those. And finally, whole food, plant strong eating. I want to give you a definition of that so that you know what I'm talking about. It's 90% of your calories come from plants. That means that you can actually have 10% of your calories coming from animal products. Now, how much is that really? So if this is a serving of animal product, you know, the size of your palm, not including your fingers, no, just your palm, if that, and you know, about the thickness of a deck of cards, then if that's one serving, then 90% of your calories coming from plants leaves about 10% of your calories coming from animal products. And that would be about 3 servings of animal products a week, not 3 servings a day, 3 servings a week. So you do not have to be vegan for these changes that I'm about to talk to you about. Now, continuing the definition of whole food plant strong eating, That means that you're eating vegetables, fruit, and vegetables being above ground vegetables and below ground vegetables. So you're thinking of dark green leafy vegetables like kale um, and cabbages and Brussels sprouts, but also below the ground vegetables like carrots and potatoes and sweet potatoes and yams and all of those things. Then fruit, especially the bright colored fruit, and you want a variety of fruit and a variety of colors, especially the dark colored fruit like grapes and berries and cherries. And then grains, and you want whole grains, minimally processed, is better than highly processed, but even highly processed grains can be helpful as well. And legumes, that would be peas and beans. Some people like beans and some people don't. Well, if you don't like beans, eat peas. If you don't like peas, eat beans. But all of these together make up 90% of your calories. So this eating plan would not contain dairy. So animal milks, animal yogurt, cream, cheese, or butter would not be included. And it will be low in fat. A low fat serving would be less than 3 grams or less of fat per serving. It would be high in fiber. And depending on whether you're male or female and what your health goals are, somewhere in the vicinity of 40 grams of fiber a day. Now, fiber, you only find fiber in plant material. So if you're eating vegetables, fruit, grains, and legumes, you will get enough fiber. And if you feel as though you're not getting enough fiber, maybe it's time to add to the number of servings of vegetables that you eat. And there are many foods and herbs that are anti-inflammatory that fit into this whole food plant strong eating plan. Now, I want to give you some idea of how fast eating this way or living this healthy lifestyle, 6 pillars of health, including whole food plant-based, how fast can it make a difference? I'm going to give you a list of medical professionals who have done real research. And I'm saying this carefully because I don't want to offend anybody, but there's a lot of information flowing out there, and almost anybody who can get a mic and has a pulse has an opinion, and that's okay. This is the land of free speech. However, we want to make sure that the information that we're hearing, that we're gathering, is not advertising, that it's actually based on solid research, that you can actually go and find the data, and that the persons who are reporting, like myself, well, I'm just reporting to you today, but I can tell you where to find the data. So I'm going to give you a list of about 8 physicians who are involved in real research, who can give us an idea of how quickly can changing our nutrition give rise to healthier outcomes. So my first physician is Dr. Neil Barnard. He's the founder of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And if you go to pcrm.org/recipes, you can find a lot of recipes. But he has done many years, many decades of research on the impact of nutrition, whole food plant-based nutrition, on specific diseases, whether it's cardiovascular disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, and even some work on cancer. So here is one voice that's saying that within 21 days, by changing how you eat, you can begin to see a difference in your health. The late, great Dr. John McDougall, who died just over a year ago, he wrote the book, The Starch Solution. He had been, for nearly 50 years, he had been doing research on health and nutrition. And he said in his class is that you can have changes in your outcomes within 2 weeks. Now, he ran a physician supported program. So people who participated in his program were seen by physicians. So he had tons of data, qualifying data, of what happens with people when they start and change their eating habits. And within 2 weeks, he says, that's 14 days, you can begin to see medically validated differences. Dr. Michael Greger is the founder of nutritionfacts.org. Talk about short, sweet, just the facts. That's where you need to go. If you have questions, this is a gentleman who he's a medical doctor. He's been collecting the research, published research, and going through it and validating research for decades. So when you go to his site, you can find information that is referenced. They can tell you about all the different studies, and they have the information. If you have a quick question about thyroid hormone, or you want to know about vision, or you want to know about which nutrient impacts which condition, go to nutritionfacts.org. And he's showing in his work that you can make a difference in your health within a matter of weeks. The great Dr. Dean Ornish, he and his wife, you can find their information on ornish.com. For more than 45 years, they've been doing research in preventive medicine. And he has a 9-week program of lifestyle medicine. Now, 9 weeks might seem a little long to some people, but how long have you been suffering? I was suffering for a very long time with digestive issues. So taking part in a 9-week program that could result in not having acid reflux anymore, not having breakouts all the time, I put my hand up for that. Then there's the work of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He has an 8 to 12-week program, and his program is out of my.clevelandclinic.org. He is the physician who wrote the book, How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. I know you can prevent and you can reverse heart disease. And this is not just a story. He worked with 24 individuals, and then he worked with 98 individuals, and he's been and documented all this process, and he's been working with people for decades and helping them reverse their heart disease by changing their nutrition. Dr. T. Colin Campbell wrote the book The China Study and Whole, and a couple other books, and he is also a resource that you can use to get information that is quality information to show that within a matter of weeks, changing your eating habits can change your health outcomes. And finally, I want to end with 2 physicians who suffered from autoimmune conditions. The first is Dr. Saray Stanzik. She was diagnosed with MS while she was serving as a physician in the ER. She finally found out about the role of nutrition because she was not taught that in medical school. She was not teaching that to her medical students as a senior physician. But when her illness sidelined a lot of her work and she had to find solutions, she discovered that nutrition can make a difference. And now she is a proponent of lifestyle medicine, and she has no more signs and symptoms of MS. There's also Dr. Brooke Goldner, who as a teenager was diagnosed with lupus and who had kidney failure and kidney problems, and now has a website called goodbyelupus.com where you can find recipes, you can find her story, and you can learn how nutrition can make a difference in a matter of weeks. We're talking about 2 weeks, 14 days, you can change your health. So, who's up for changing your health? That's fine. I am too. So, I'd like to answer a few key questions. When people first hear this information, they ask where you get certain of your nutrients from. Well, we weren't taught this in medical school, but all necessary nutrients are available from plants. Most nutrition doctors, including the ones that I've spoken about today, if they're clinicians, they may recommend a vitamin D supplement. Now, vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone, and it's produced during the exposure to sun. Researchers have found that if you expose yourself for 15 minutes a day to sun, that you can usually have sufficient vitamin D. Now, speak with your medical professionals. This is something that you're going to have to work out with them. The other supplement that medical professionals recommend is vitamin B12. And this vitamin B, if it is deficient, can lead to neurological side effects. So they're very concerned because they want people to get access to this vitamin B12, but because they're made by bacteria, and we live in a world where we clean everything so well, we have reduced our exposure to bacteria. And so whether you're a plant-based or your meals are animal-based, most people may benefit, according to the medical professionals, from having access to vitamin B12 supplementation. All our macronutrients can be found in your food. They're all essential. Carbohydrates are essential, proteins are essential, fats are essential. They're all available in plants. And you say, well, how much do we need? Well, there are a couple of standards. Some people, some nutritionists provide a 2,000 calorie diet. And out of that, the recommendation is that 10% of those calories can come from proteins and 10% of those calories can come from fats. And the rest have to come from foods that are rich in carbohydrates. And you can find all of that in plants in the right proportion. So they're also micronutrients. We know about vitamins and minerals. That's about 32 different compounds. Well, all of those compounds and 10,000 more are available in plants. We call them phytonutrients. So if you feel that you're deficient, please speak with your medical professional. But what the researchers have shown, and you can go check this out at nutritionfacts.org or any of the other places. In fact, if you'd like to get access to a list of those websites, just put web and your contact information, whether it's your text number or an email, just type that in the chat so that at the end we can collect that information and send that information to you. So if 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 you're deficient in any particular nutrient according to your medical professionals, then know that by eating fruits and vegetables, you can build up, you can rebuild those amounts of nutrients. But again, work with your medical professionals so that you can have that. So what's my suggested prescription for health transformation? You want to eat foods that are rich in fiber. And I've got to tell you, animal products have no fiber. So if you fill your plate with plants, and then if you want to have some animal products, then you can have a certain amount. Remember, you're aiming for 3 servings a week. Maybe you could have 6 half servings a week, and that will allow you to have some every day. There are a couple of myths I'd like to bust before I let you go today. The first one is that a lot of people feel, oh, I don't eat red meat. I just eat fish and chicken, so that's better. Well, the research does not support that. If you're going to eat animal products, then you want to make sure that it's the best quality, that it's clean, that it's healthy. But as long as you're eating more than 10% of your calories, know that the fish and the chicken, the duck, the fowl, the lamb, their proteins are pro-inflammatory. The fat content, they are high fat. The fat content is pro-inflammatory. They do not contain any fiber, which is an essential nutrient, and they don't contain the requisite amount of micronutrients, which are the phytonutrients, because their bodies, most animals eat plants or eat animals that ate plants. So all the micronutrients are being used up in them. So by the time we get to them, there aren't enough micronutrients for us. And so another myth is that plants provide complete proteins. Even rice and beans will give you the right amount of protein, and 14 to 20 grams. If you're eating more than that a day, it's not going to be stored. We think, well, if protein is good, more is better. Well, it's not, because your body doesn't store it. It breaks it down. Your kidneys have to excrete it, and it gives too much work for your kidneys. So if you're thinking that eating more and more and more protein is better for you, then that's not actually true. You're stressing your bodies. Another myth is that you need fish for omega fats. Did you know that fish don't make omegas? Uh-huh. So they actually store them as they eat the algae, but they also store the toxins from the water that they're swimming in. So if you're thinking that, okay, all I have to do is eat more fish and I'll be healthier, I'm not telling you not to eat fish, but fish is not the solution to your omega problems. Athletes do better on high animal protein. That's another myth. Plant proteins are less inflammatory, and that's what athletes have to fight against: inflammation. That's what gives them cramps. That's what limits their performance. So they need the micronutrients from plants. They need the proteins from plants. Those are cleaner burning proteins. They need the fiber. And very often you hear about athletes carb loading, because the carbohydrates are the source of the energy they need for their athletic behavior. So proteins like casein and whey are pro-inflammatory. They're not recommended. And the final one, before I tell you how we can help you, is that sugar, the myth is that sugar causes type 2 diabetes. This is not correct. We've known since the 1920s that persons with diabetes, if they're given foods that are high in fiber, that they do better. So what is the cause of type 2 diabetes? It's excess fat in the diet that's stored in the muscles, and that causes insulin resistance, and it causes the body to not manage the glucose, the sugars that you do eat, not manage them well. And in 10 to 21 days of getting off a high fat and animal-based eating plan, you can see there's measurable glucose control. So I know I've given you a lot of information. This is the first time you're hearing me. You're like, oh, you're feeding me with a fire hose. And I'm sorry about that. Maybe you can slow me down as you do watch the replay. And the replays will be available to anybody who would like. If you'd like a replay, put replay and then put your contact information. We'll capture the chat and we'll try to get that out to you. How can we help? The first thing is you can make one simple change. Remember, I told you about the 6 pillars of health, and I said you can do one thing at a time. If you make one change, then I recommend that you eat more fruit, vegetables, and fruit. And we can help you with that. You can ask the person who invited you to this evening's event and invited you to this recording, ask them how they can get access to eating more fruits and vegetables, and how they can get access to people like Chef Karen Carla, who can talk to them about how you can eat and develop nice recipes. We can help you with that. Also, with the Juice Plus products that I mentioned at the beginning of our session. One of the things that I tell people all the time is just eat more vegetables. And they're like, yeah, I don't have time. Or I don't like vegetables. Or I don't know which vegetables to buy. Or I don't know how to prepare them. Or I buy them, and then I forget them, and then I have to throw them out. So we have a solution for you. We have 60 fruit, vegetables, and berries in capsules or soft chews. So here are the bottles of the fruits and vegetables that we can share with you. 10 fruit, 10 vegetables, 10 berries, berries rock, and you have also the omega blend. Remember, I told you fish don't make omegas. So we skipped the middle fish, went back to the source. So we have some of the algae and five other plant-based sources so that you don't just get omega-3, you get omega-3, 6, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, the way they occur in nature. So that's a help. And then you can also have a chewable version. These were originally developed for children, but a lot of adults love them. And it's such a convenient way to get more fruits and vegetables without having to do more shopping, washing, chopping, and then cleaning up. Although I encourage you, if you want to make smoothies with your fruits and vegetables, go for it. Dr. Brooke Goldner has some recipes. If you go to her page, goodbyeluzpus.com, you can find recipes there. And then we have the complete shake. You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, I still think I need more protein. Well, here you have some plant strong protein, both in chocolate and vanilla. Now, I was a chocoholic, but since I started using the complete shake, I can have chocolate every day and I don't have to go out and buy bags and bags of chocolate like I used to in the old days. And now we also have access to the Luminate. And this is a wonderful way to get a pick-me-up that doesn't give you a buzz. It's actually going to help you concentrate, stay calm, stay focused, stay alert. Imagine all of that with, you just put this into about 8 ounces of water. And then we also have the fruits, vegetables, and berries that were in the capsules. You can put them in a sleeve and just add them to water, and you have superfood. Yeah. So um, there's a special going on this month. So ask the person who invited you so that you can get the superfood and the Luminate together so that you and your family can try them. Oh, and by the way, speaking of family, if you get started on your own healthy living journey, then you can sponsor a child for free. So you may have to pay some shipping a little bit every month, but um, you imagine being able to get fruit and vegetables for a child from the ages of 4 to 24. Our company is committed to making a difference in the lives of the next generation, not just in our generation. So I hope the information that I've given you today has been an encouragement for you. Um, you can also grow your own fruits and vegetables in your home on a tower garden. Number two thing that you can do is focus on the produce aisle when you go to the market. Swap out things that are dairy. Swap out all your highly processed meats. So things like bacon, sausages, burgers, you can swap them out for plant-based versions. Now, I know there are a lot of people that are going to go, no, 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 but a plant-based version is better than a highly processed animal product. The World Health Organization calls highly processed meat products a class 1 carcinogen. In other words, there is no doubt that regular exposure to highly processed animal products, meat products, increases the risk of colon cancer, breast cancer, and other cancers, and hormone-related cancer. And so if you're like me and you were addicted to cheese, get started on eating more fruits and vegetables. The good news is, especially if you get started on the concentrated fruits and vegetables and you're adding the superfood, that you will find that you'll tend to eat less and less of it. Swap it out with something else. If you want the recipe list, just write recipe and your contact information in the chat, and I'll send you the 4 websites where you can pick and choose some plant-based recipes. We all know how to cook the animal product of our choice. So these are just plant-based recipes. And finally, you can participate in a three-way call. Speak to the person who invited you, and we can arrange a three-way call so that we can coach you on how to jumpstart your healthy living journey. Now, as we close, I'd like my friends that are on the line to unmute themselves and say what we say every Friday night.
Eat
Eat
more
more
fruits and
and
vegetables.
vegetables.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I see all of your beautiful faces. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to come back. Don't forget to write your information. I'm going to stop the Oops, I forgot to press recording. I'm going to stop the YouTube, and we will stay around for questions